Hello, this is the evening news from our Vox Africa studios here in London. I am Pamela Bonkyung. Let's look at tonight's major headline stories. The Malian town of Kidal, bordering Algeria, is the next target in the French-Malian mission against Islamists. This comes after the towns of Timbuktu and Gao are retaken. Egypt faces more protests against Morsi's decree of a curfew marked by further violence in the Suez Canal cities. And finally, the Pentagon announces its decision to allow women to fight in the front line, a decision most welcomed by female soldiers in Afghanistan. As the French troops and Malian forces prepare to advance into Kidal, a secular Malian rebel group announced that they had just recaptured it from Al-Qaeda allied Islamist fighters. The MNLA, which stands for the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, said they were now in control of Kidal and Islamist fighters had gone. Kidal, the capital of a remote region that borders with Algeria, had been the last urban stronghold in North Mali occupied by Al-Qaeda allied Islamist fighters. It had announced 10 days ago it will join international efforts to liberate northern Mali from Islamist groups. One of the group's leader, Ibrahim Mohamed Ak-Assaleh, said on Sunday the group is preparing to attack the Islamist forces in other Tuareg towns. He said Islamist fighters were hiding in the Tinmane and Tingargar mountains in Kidal region. Still in Mali, Human Rights Watch today announced that it is looking into human rights abuses involving the Malian military. This follows reports that Malian soldiers are themselves carrying out extrajudicial killings and abuses as they counter-strike. Most of the victims are mostly those suspected or accused of complicity with the jihadist or infiltrated elements, persons in possession of weapons, people who have no proof of their identity during military patrols, or simply people targeted because of their belonging to a certain ethnic group. The ethnic groups targeted are the lighter-skinned Tuaregs in the key conflict area between the north and south, particularly in the towns of Sivare, Mopti and Neono. Reliable information indicates scores have been killed and buried hastily, in particular in the wells. There have also been reports and documents indicating the pillaging of Tuareg homes by government soldiers. Mali's military is made up of mostly black Africans from the south. Human Rights Watch's Philippe Bolopion said the retaking of Timbuktu and Gao could provide opportunities for people to take the law into their hands.
The risk right now, as these city, Gao, Timbuktu, are being retaken, is that some people will want to take justice into their own hands, and that the Malian military might try to pick up some people and maybe kill them on the spot, as they seem to have done in Sevare in some cases. People are very scared to speak. They say that the Malian military has been going around telling people not to speak. So in this climate, it's very difficult to investigate these cases. What's for sure is that we have a few bodies decomposing in wells around Sevare, and that the Malian gendarmerie doesn't seem to be doing anything to investigate these cases, let alone take these bodies and do an autopsy or anything like that. So they don't even pretend to investigate.
On the sidelines of the African Union summit in Ethiopia, Iran's foreign minister criticized the French mission in Mali, comparing the Mali situation to that in Syria.
Those who are acting as mercenaries and fighting the Syrian government in Syria, who have come up from outside Syria, and they are non-Syrian nationals, they are supported exactly by those countries who are now confronting the same category of people in Mali. And this is one of the, I think, dilemmas of this age. How you can be so contradictory. We think the sooner we settle the dispute, the better it is, before it spreads out and before it deepens. We have seen that if it is not attended in its due time, those cases develop into sort of difficult issues, unsolvable issues. its natural diplomacy. We have been.
In Egypt, following President Morsi's announcement of a curfew in Suez, Ismailia and Port Said, protests broke out in Cairo and Ismailia in reaction. In Cairo, there was more violence on the streets earlier today as police fired volleys of tear gas at dozens of youths hurling stones near Tahrir Square. It is the fifth day of violence in Egypt as people protest against President Mohamed Morsi, who they say has betrayed the revolution that ousted Hosni Mubarak 2 years ago. In Libya, following a warning by Britain, Germany and the Netherlands for its citizens to leave Benghazi, some Western teachers working at an international school in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi refused to leave. On Thursday, Britain, Germany and the Netherlands told their nationals to leave the area after a deadly attack by Islamist militants in neighboring Algeria. Britain cited a specific and imminent threat to Westerners in Libya's second largest city, but officials declined to give any details. Some teachers at a prominent international school have expressed not feeling any imminent threat at all in Benghazi.
We've received information from the school, from my employers. They seem to think that the problem is credible enough that we've been asked to leave. Personally, I feel no threat, and I'm very happy to follow the instructions of the Libyan government and my government. Well, my personal decision is to remain. I certainly feel under no threat whatsoever. And I'm a senior teacher at the school, and we have students preparing for their international exams. We want to see our students do well on those exams. So my intention is to stay, but nevertheless, I'll see what direction I receive from my employers.
I don't really see any problems here, but we've been advised by the embassy staff that we have to go, hopefully for a very short period, because we want to get back, look after the kids here. Some very good students here, very good school, and hopefully we're back about the 18th, 19th of February to start teaching again. Personally, I don't feel threatened at all. Some people do, I don't. We don't see any problems in Benghazi. I've never had any problems in Benghazi. I came in September last year, and now it's all been very friendly, very helpful, and no problems whatsoever.
Cameroonians are increasingly getting hooked to brews sold on the country's streets and considered to be highly medicinal. But beneath their purported medicinal value lies even graver dangers, as we hear in the following report by our Cameroon correspondent, Yu Timchia.
From the back streets of Cameroon's major towns to the upscale parts of the country, hawkers peddle brews, which they say have plenty of healing potential. One of such brews is a type of tea called chai ada. The cherished drink is sipped every day with relish by many a Cameroonian.
Quand tu as une certaine fatigue dans le corps,
a glass of chai ada taken in the morning will take away fatigue and insomnia.
On the streets of the nation's capital, Yaoundé, this other man sells a potion. He says it is highly therapeutic.
I sell traditional medicine which heals typhoid, jaundice, malaria, stomach and body ache. It also cleanses the waist.
But he cannot tell exactly what ingredients he uses to concoct it.
The roots used come from the north, and I prepare them with clean tap water.
Despite their professed benefits to the human body, these drinks could be potentially dangerous.
It will be considered an attempt to get high if you take them in excess. But a glass alone will heal waist and back pains and will equally help with erections.
Mais plutôt les comprimés qui sont du Nigeria qu'on appelle tramol.
The one that destroys the human system is that which is laced with a drug from Nigeria known as tramol. After giving one a sensation of courage and strength, consumers lose weight and appetite and vomit blood. It's very dangerous, and stopping its distribution will be a great thing to do. Again, for a city like Yaoundé, with most of its over 2 million inhabitants almost perpetually wading through a serious potable water crisis, the risks involved in consuming these street brews could even be bigger. The same cups are usually used to serve the many customers hooked to the drinks and are occasionally rinsed with water from doubtful sources. Still fresh in the minds of the city's inhabitants is an unprecedented cholera outbreak which spread fast through the capital in mid-2011, leaving more than 250 people dead in its wake in just 2 months.
A Somali mother's life was put at risk after she gave birth to her 5th child at home. Donor support from the United Arab Emirates for a specialized maternity and child clinic helped save the lives of displaced Somali mothers. Roberto Kandu has more.
For decades now, life in Somalia has been all about surviving war, famine and violence. Conflict, the kind the country has witnessed, exacts a toll on everyone, and all the more so on women. A few weeks ago, Gududo Galinle gave birth to her 5th child, a daughter called Fartun. Her other children were all born at home, but this time there were complications. Mother and child were at risk, so Gududo was rushed to Galkayo Medical Center.
The best way to deliver is at the hospital because you get support if anything happened. I deliver at home because sometimes I'm just not ready, but it's always safer to go to hospital.
The Galkayo Medical Center was set up by Dr. Abdul Kadir Giama in 1997. Initially, it was a private clinic specializing in motherhood care, but overwhelming need changed that. In 2005, the center opened its doors to internally displaced families throughout Galkayo.
The pregnancy and let him have a good antenatal care where you can actually identify the high-risk patient and monitor it closely during the pregnancy and during the labor and after the labor.
The life-saving support of donors, particularly from the Arab Emirates, has helped bring modern facilities, such as labs, X-ray machines and modern clinic to the center. It is now a full-fledged referral hospital for most of Somalia. The donations also allow help beyond the walls of the hospital. Sarah Uro Robo Ishak has been a midwife for over 10 years. She is self-taught, but recently she was training at the center on safe delivery.
The risk expectant women faced during delivery was very high, as we didn't have enough skills and materials. Before we were just using a razor blade, but GMC trained us and gave us complete safe delivery kits, including plastic sheets and disinfectant soap.
And in emergencies, she can count on help from the Galkayo Medical Center. For Dr. Giama, the support the center has received has been vital. Gududo and Fartun are now home, proof that access to healthcare that was not there before saves lives.
Ariel Sharon, Israel's former prime minister, surprised his doctors today by showing brain activity. Ariel has been in a coma for 7 years after suffering a massive stroke. The experts who examined him used an MRI scan to monitor the level of consciousness. The doctors saw the responses displayed by Sharon, 84, in a 2-hour exam on Thursday as encouraging that there may be a cure someday for some comas. The experts at Soroka, joined by a leading U.S. neurologist, Martin Monti of the University of California, Los Angeles, scanned Sharon's brain to test its function, said one of the doctors. Shinzo Abe, Japan's prime minister, today vowed to protect Japanese territory disputed in an ongoing feud with China. He is also looking to keep up pressure on the country's central bank to overcome deflation. In his first policy speech to Parliament since returning to office last month and coming after an overseas visit to Southeast Asia, Abe laid out his foreign policy objectives. Citing economic revival as the most pressing task for Japan, Abe vowed to map out a growth strategy to boost private investment and consumption.
The source of my resolve to devote myself again to the nation and people is my deep sense of patriotism. The situation surrounding Japan is becoming increasingly severe. We'll do our best to enhance proper promotion and management of border islands and strengthen our guard. Here we pledge to firmly protect people's lives and our territories, waters and airspace. Japan cannot beat deflation and a strong yen if we resolve in the same way as in the past. That's why I present a bolder policy package. Let's use our unfaltering resolve to rebuild the economy to the strength it should be. It is important for the government of the Bank of Japan, BOJ, to implement the content of the joint statement of their own responsibility, including swift achievement of the 2% inflation target on the part of the BOJ, and we will work closely to do so.
Myanmar's democracy leader and Nobel Peace laureate Aung San Suu Kyi arrived South Korea today on her first visit to South Korea. The visit, which will last 5 days, will see Suu Kyi meet with South Korean President Lim Yong-bak and President-elect Park Geun-hye. Suu Kyi is also scheduled to attend the opening ceremony of the 2013 Special Olympics World Winter Games and to deliver a speech at the opening ceremony of the Global Development Summit. To welcome her visit, about 50 Seoul-based Burmese supporters gathered in front of her accommodation while waving Burmese flags and calling out her name. On Sunday, Indian defense scientists successfully test-fired a ballistic missile. The B-05 is fired from a submarine platform in the Bay of Bengal. Developed by the Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, the missile has a strike range of around 1,500 kilometers. According to the DRDO, the launch had met all parameters and was successful. India says its nuclear weapons program is for deterrence only. Meanwhile, India's Kashmir has now proven a hotspot for tourists looking to ski. Tourists from around the world on Sunday flocked to the ski resort of Gulmarg in India's Kashmir to experience snow and skiing of the Pir Panjal range of the Himalayas. Gulmarg at present provides a picturesque view with snow-capped mountains, lush beautiful valleys and cottages. Tourism officials said they hope in wake of the decline in violence in India's Kashmir, they will be able to get more visitors to the region. For tourists, the Kashmir ski resort has ticked all the boxes, even catering to different levels of borders. Others have indicated a preference for this resort rather than the well-known Austrian skiing.
I think it's really beautiful snow. We were happy to get like 2 days snowfall, and I think like months at least we can enjoy the mountains and snowboarding. And I'm a beginner, so for me it's really difficult to go top, but it's a good thing here in Gulmarg you have the layer for different kind of layers for the snowboarders, skiers.
To come to Gulmarg is quite amazing for us because the altitude is so high and so much more snow and much steeper terrain, much deeper snow, and I guess for skiers it's a lot lighter powder, whereas in Australia we generally don't get that much powder.
In Indonesia, a landslide in the country's West Sumatra province on Sunday killed 11 people. 9 others have been reported missing. According to local media, the landslide was caused by heavy torrential rains. Rescue officials have been sent out to search for the missing or dead. Indonesia is susceptible to floods and landslides due to its torrential rains. In Australia's Queensland today, floodwaters continued rising. Almost 200,000 homes are without electricity, according to local media reports. At least 3 people have been reported dead and several others injured in the severe weather conditions. The town of Bundaberg, located in the southeast of Queensland, according to the West Australian newspaper, spotted 1,200 homes submerged. Queensland's disaster management issued emergency alerts for numerous towns, asking residents to move to higher grounds. The bad weather will extend to the northeastern parts of New South Wales. It is due to hit the state's capital, Sydney, later this evening. In another twist of Australia's changing weather, the town of Mooloolaba in Queenstown today saw parts of a small beach covered in foam. The rough weather that whisked through the Sunshine Coast also whipped up foam from the ocean and brought it to shore, said local media. It covered the beach and streets up to a height of up to 3 meters. Many holiday makers as well as residents used the opportunity to play in the foam or take photographs of the natural phenomenon. Australian Prime Minister has been sending out her condolences to the families who lost loved ones to the flood, declaring that this was indeed a very tough period.
we have seen 3 fatalities, and my condolences go to the families and friends of those who have been lost. We've got grave concerns for a number of others. Across Queensland, the wild weather has broken a lot of hearts. It's a very tough period. In Queensland, we've seen the devastating consequences of wild weather, rain and flooding, with that weather system now moving into northern New South Wales. Whether it's bushfires, whether it's floods, we are being challenged by nature. But we are a strong and smart nation, and we'll get through this, as we always do, by pulling together.
In the French capital, Paris, tens of thousands of people flocked to the streets on Sunday in support of the French government's plan to legalize gay marriage and adoption. Police estimated total attendance at about 1,225,000. 2 weeks ago, thousands attended the anti-gay marriage protest. France's National Assembly is set to begin debating on Tuesday on a controversial bill to legalize gay marriage. Though the decision has started protests in France, the measure is approved by a majority of the population, according to opinion polls. The 2-week debate at the French Parliament about the planned law change will be one of the biggest social reforms since the abolition of the death penalty in 1981. The decision by the United States of America's Pentagon to allow women soldiers to serve in frontline combat positions has been welcomed by U.S. female soldiers at their base at the Kabul military airport. On Sunday, the soldiers saw the decision as a door opener for jobs in other areas apart from logistics or support roles. The Pentagon on Thursday lifted a long-time ban on women serving in frontline combat positions, taking a historic step towards gender equality in the U.S. military. This comes after 11 years of war in which women were increasingly present on the battlefield. Some U.S. women soldiers in Afghanistan speak of their joy at the news.
Individually, it will not really affect me. As far as the future for future engineers, it's an individual choice if a person wants to go into an infantry MOS or not. So it opens up doors for them to choose a different job.
Personally, it will not affect me. Military police officers, females, have already been on the front lines. Dog handlers are out there right now as females. But I think it'll open up doors for younger troops, that females that want to do different MOSs, but nothing to affect me.
Professionally, today and in the future, I don't think the new policy change will affect me personally. By trade, I'm a chemical operations specialist. However, I do think that it will open up more job opportunities for females in the future.
Quite interesting indeed. Let's revisit tonight's major headline stories once again. The Malian town of Kidal, bordering Algeria, is the next target in the French Malian mission against Islamists. This comes after the towns of Timbuktu and Gao are retaken. Egypt faces more protests against Morsi's decree of a curfew, marked by further violence in the Suez Canal cities. And finally, the Pentagon announces its decision to allow women to fight in the front line, a decision most welcomed by female soldiers in Afghanistan. Well, thank you for watching, and for more updates, do visit voxafrica.co.uk/news. Enjoy the rest of your evening.